Thank you for listening to the Following Films podcast. Today I'm joined by Nicholas Colia to discuss Griffin in Summer. Griffin is the most ambitious playwright of his generation. He's also 14 years old and living with his parents in a humdrum suburb while dreaming of moving to New York City. When his mom hires a handsome 25-year-old handyman, Griffin's life and new play take an inspired turn. Today's episode of the Following Films podcast is brought to you by Universal Pictures' How to Train Your Dragon. The film is currently available on digital, DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K UHD. If you'd like to win a free copy of the 4K disc, just send me an email with your mailing address and send it to editor@followingfilms.com with the subject line, I Can Train Your Dragon. Winners will be selected at random and receive notification by August 31st. Now, onto my conversation with Nicholas. Griffin in Summer will be in theaters this Friday, August 29th. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks. Hey, Nicholas, thank you so much for taking the time out of your afternoon to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Where are you located?
I'm in Tucson, Arizona. Where are you at?
I'm in Cape Cod right now, but I live in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Good for you. Amazing. How is it in Cape Cod right now?
It's been beautiful. It's gray and rainy today, so I'm happy to be inside on Zoom, but it's been very nice. But I leave very shortly to for various Griffin stuff. But it's been great. Yeah.
Well, as somebody in the middle of a Tucson summer, gray and rainy sounds amazing right now. I would love for a rainy afternoon more than anything. But
Right. Yeah.
I got to say, thank you so much for making this film, because this speaks to an experience that I think is far more common than people acknowledge. There's a movie like Kids that was popular 30 years ago that spoke to the truth of being young for a certain group of people. But this story, Griffin's story, is by far closer to me and my friends growing up. I think of a scene early on where everybody was drinking the seltzers, and while that wasn't directly it, that rang very true and very close to home. And I feel like there's such honesty and vulnerability in the storytelling here.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been wild. A lot of people are seeing themselves in this slightly deranged kid. So, but that's good for me, I guess.
Well, is it autobiographical at all? Do you see yourself in this slightly deranged child?
Yeah, I mean, it's not autobiographical in the sense like this was not my.
No, not the beats
um
of your story, of
Well, no,
course.
but it wasn't even like I didn't, look like this. This was not these aren't my parents. This wasn't my home life. I think that it's more the stuff that's autobiographical is I definitely spent my summers of as a kid, as an adolescence, really, really aggressively playing adult and making a lot of very overly ambitious films and theater out of my parents' basement. So that is autobiographical for sure, even though I was always more interested in comedy than Griffin is, who's, interested in, the opposite of comedy.
Well, he unintentionally interested in comedy, where
Right.
something like he doesn't really appreciate the campiness of like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf yet. He takes that seriously, probably at this point, that he can't get into some of the absurdity there. And just like the heightened drama of a 14-year-old loving that story is just so wonderful to me.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't until really uh, COVID time that when I was digitizing the videos of all the stuff I had done as a kid, that I even was able to see the campy irony in all of it. So it takes a while to wear off to actually get perspective on this stuff, or at least it did for me.
Well, for me personally, when I was in high school, me and my friends, we would put on trench coats and make movies, and that's all it took to make us spies, that kind of thing, where it was, we were playing adult in these absurd ways where, we would have poorly tied ties. And it was just, we were trying so desperately to make something that was saying something real, not something that was, I don't know. It was this false pretension that was just unearned. And we were these middle-class kids from the suburbs that really didn't have a lot of strife in our lives. And but we were
Right.
trying to tell these really meaningful stories. Looking back, it's like looking through Trapper Keeper poetry. It's embarrassing but fun at the same time.
Did you hang on to the videos?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been married for 16 years and I haven't shown my wife yet. So it'll be at some point. It'll come up. So
it's yeah. I mean, I wouldn't digitizing the stuff. I definitely saw new humor in it, but I'm not watching it on any kind of a regular basis for sure.
well, let's talk about your casting because I think I had seen Everett in The Old Way, the Nicolas Cage film a couple years ago. I'd seen that and I had no idea the range that this kid has, and he's incredible in this movie. And if his performance doesn't work, your whole movie is on his shoulders, and he carries the film incredibly well. So, talk a little bit about finding him and just getting this performance out of this kid because he's incredible in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the most important decision any of us were going to make was who was going to play this part. And really, it would just turn into a search of can we find a kid that justifies making this movie? And it was a long process. It was about, we shot the movie in August and we started looking for a kid in February, trying to find someone by June. And we, I think, got Everett's his first tape in like Memorial Day
Mhm.
in May. And so Meredith Tucker and Betsy Pippinger cast the film, and they just for Griffin probably saw or looked at like 450 kids, for Griffin, and then it just trickled down, and second round and third round, and ultimately, if I'm being 100% honest, there just really was not a second voice.
Sure.
The thing that I said to them, and then had forgotten that I said this, and then found it in an email recently, was, I think that all of Griffin's quality of being bratty and precocious, I think that kids can, most young kids can act that. But so really the thing that I was prioritizing the auditions is trying to find someone who was authentic and that you really leaned into. This was going to be someone who the audience was going to have to spend an hour and a half watching, and we, the people making the movie, we're going to have to spend, a year and a half watching. And so it was just that thing of, I've been struggling in these interviews even to describe it, but, just wanting someone who had an emotional vulnerability and authenticity and, an honesty to their acting. And so, having said that, we did not in any way anticipate or expect Everett to over deliver the way that he ended up doing when we were actually shooting the film. So we all feel very, very, very grateful to Everett.
Well, it's one of those things. If you get that performance wrong, you could feel like you are laughing at him. And while there are
Hmm.
moments where the joke is on Everett because there is that element of how serious he's taking himself in moments, but then it'll vacillate very quickly between that and you just feel sorry for him and you're empathetic. And then it goes back to the absurdity again, but it never feels inauthentic, which is really, really tough to pull off that you can go back and forth between that. And I never feel like you as a filmmaker are laughing at him, that you genuinely love these characters. Even as goofy as any of these people are in the film, I feel like you do have affection for them, which is kind of uncommon in a film like this.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I definitely do have affection for all of the um, cast, and you know, um, yeah. Thank you.
Well, there's something that comes through with in my favorite comedies, there's a little bit of sadness in them. Harold and
Mhm.
Maude is one of my favorite films of all time. And I think that there's just something about things that really resonate with me. There's just that little bit underneath them. And it's a hopeful movie. It has a very earned ending that does give you hope in the end. Thank God
Mhm.
you didn't fuck up the ending because I thought you almost did for a second. I won't ruin it for anybody, but you land the ending, and I thought you were going to do something for a second. I'm glad you didn't. So thank you. And I think what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I do. Thanks.
So, but with that, it's the just having that little undercurrent of sadness that you have, because when you're of that age, it's a pretty, I think we take rose colored glasses to it, but it's an emotional time when you're 14, 15 years
Mhm.
old. It is a tough time to, just be entering puberty and to want to play adult and to do those things. And I think you capture that so wonderfully here.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, yeah, we definitely, I did a reading of the film a few years ago with some actors who were ended up not being in the film, but actual kids, because I just wanted to get a sense of, I haven't been around, a 14, 15-year-old since I was 14, 15. And so I don't
Yeah.
really have a lot of, so I wanted to get a sense of if it felt authentic to them and authentic, coming through them. And I definitely have memories and a sense of, you know, things at that time feeling so incredibly high stakes when they're
Yeah.
actually not, whether it's personal or I say professional, but that doesn't make any sense. Whether it's creative endeavors, and that's something that I remember well.
Well, it's the first time you're scraping your knees, that you're first feeling
Mhm.
that pain of, heartache, and those things that you get calloused as you get older. And I think there's something that's really pure and honest about those first couple times at bat where you really do mess yourself up and it feels like it's the end of the world. And there's something beautiful about that age when you don't know that you're not going to feel like this forever. And there's just something that's really wonderful about that. And as, somebody who's 49 who has, a 15-year-old, I have to remember to be re-engaged with that time period and be empathetic for it. That, yeah, that is the end of the world for you right now. I get that. I understand what you're feeling. And saying it's going to feel better eventually and all those things, you need to let them know that. But there's nothing but going through and getting, hurt a couple more times. That's going to make you feel better about it, I guess. So it's, it's
Mm.
for me though. I'm sorry, I'm going off because this movie it
That's
really
okay.
hit me.
Thank you.
I have a 10-year-old also, and I'm so looking forward to him specifically watching this film because I think he's going to see a lot of himself because I see so much of him already in this
Mhm.
character, and he's about to walk through the door right now. But it's something that I want him to find this film probably 2 or 3 years from now. He's not ready for it yet, but I want him to find this
Right.
movie. So do you think about it in that way of the kids that were when you were a 14-year-old, when you were a 12-year-old, if you could have had a movie like this, because they didn't really exist when I was younger.
Yeah, I'm still processing all that, I think. Because I'd only, made shorts mostly before this, the whole lifespan of them is just, they hopefully you go to some festivals and you maybe
Yeah.
get some awards or attention. So I really have no point of reference for the reality that the majority of the people who are going to see this film have not seen it yet. So I don't really know what it's going to be like, but and I don't know, but I people who have seen it have been so, I've traveled uh around with the film, and it's been really incredible to see all different, ages and demographics, and people have really responded to it, including people who have nothing in common with Griffin, or seemingly have nothing in common. So
Well,
I'm curious about how that's going to continue.
because I think you made something that's hyper specific, and
Hmm.
that's why, and it resonates as true. And so when you make something that's very specific, there's underlying truths that are universal. If you tried to make something that was about everyone, you would have made something about nobody. But you made
Hmm.
this such a fully, wonderfully realized character in the center of this film that I think, yeah, people that you would not anticipate being able to paint themselves into this, they will see reflections of themselves in this character for sure.
Yeah, it's already been happening. So I'm curious. I'm curious how it's going to all lay out
Well,
these
I
next few
know
weeks.
at the very least for the drama nerds like myself, this is
Hmm.
a this is a very, very fun way to relive those years that were sometimes painful, but there's a lot of really good things that happened in those years also. And I think that you highlight both those really, really well, that you show the without going too dark, but you do show the emotional side of things beautifully here. And it's just a wonderful little film. This is such a nice reprieve. It was such a breath of fresh air to have a film like this, that the stakes were so utterly low in the stake of the world, but so high for him that it was just perfect.
Right.
Loved it.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Nicholas, for taking the time out of your afternoon. Get back out to the gray Cape Cod weather. I hope you enjoy
Yes.
it.
I will for sure. Thanks, Christopher. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, man. Nice to meet you. Take
Thanks.
care.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
And I don't wanna go home, not this time. You think the story gets old, but I don't mind. After all the things she said to me, after all I know she cares, but that night I was not alright. I've never been there, so I was quite scared. So I've never been there, so I was quite scared. Oh, and I remember all the words she said to me. Now I know she's got me figured out, figured out, figured out. And I don't wanna go home, not tonight. Just let me talk about all the old times. Just drink until it's funny, babe. I feel future solemn stare, but I know I'm alright. I've never been there, so I was quite scared. So I've never been there, so I was quite scared. Oh, and I remember all the words she said to me. Now I know she's got me figured out, figured out, figured out. I miss my friends, I miss my friends. So I miss my friends, I miss my friends. So I am not going to feel good tomorrow, Hangovers?